BREWtally podcast is proudly sponsored by rockabilia.com. For over 30 years, Rockabilia has been the go-to destination for all things band merch. With over 500,000 items in their online store and collaborations with today's hottest bands, you're sure to find something you love. Use our code BREW10 at checkout and take 10% off your total order. So go pick up your favorite new piece of merch now over at rockabilia.com. And now, on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brewtallyspeaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is the returning Kris Dawson of Bury Tomorrow. They have a new album coming out on May 16th, Will You Haunt Me With That Same Patience, coming out via Music for Nations. It is, I haven't gotten to hear the new album yet. I've only gotten to hear the singles just like all of you, but the singles are really great, and honestly, if you remember my conversation with Kris from last time, it was a good one. We really hit it off very well, and unfortunately for me, Kris did the thing he said he was going to do, which was basically if he was going to give up his profession in haircutting, then he no longer needed social media. And I remember I went to go send him a DM about something we had been talking about previously, and I was just going to kind of check in and say something, and I noticed he was gone. And I was sad because I really enjoyed some of the conversations and some of the things we were discussing. It's one of the perks of kind of really hitting it off with some of the guests that are on this show is kind of continuing to build a rapport with somebody and just kind of getting to, get to know them as people. And I was kind of sad to lose a new friend after a few years. And this was a good chance for me and him to catch up. And that's literally what this is. We just basically go right into it. We find our way, as it often happens with this show, of discussing the new record, discussing Kris's personal life, kind of how it manifested into the inspirations for songs on this new album, pushing himself as a person for growth, but then how that applies to being, pushing the boundaries of what he can do as a musician and what the band has been doing leading up to the release of this album. And I think, again, based on the singles, it's a band that kind of knows who they are and what they want to be while still showing that growth as people and kind of expanding their own thought processes about the life around them. And I am very excited to, especially the last song. He kind of talks about the what is the last song on this record and how special and important it is for him. But honestly, I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is a really great conversation between Kris and I want you all just to get right into it. So without further ado, this is my conversation with Kris, and I'll talk to you all on the other side of it.
All the time. Which I'm not pink like at all, but like the hue here, it doesn't make much sense. So
no, I mean, it's fine. I just, like I said, I just get to the point where it's because I have a TV right here that I use with a white screen to give me some backlighting, but then all you're going to see is just white, and everything on my screens. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you want to see that. Like, it's just really distracting.
Well, you're a pro, like you've got a good setup, but I'm
literally using my phone because my old 4K webcam just shit out on me like a couple of months ago. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to use your phone at this day and age now. And that's what I do. Like, you will find a way if you really need to figure out something very cheaply.
Oh, yeah, fair play. I think I said the last time we spoke, I'd switched over to like an Android, and I'm counting down the months now until that comes back. I can go back to an iPhone. It's just, man. I think I said as well, like I'm not too interested in having a phone in general. But I mean, everybody uses WhatsApp now. I can't get that on a Nokia 3310. So,
yeah, it's funny because at one point I was kind of thinking I was gonna send you a DM or something where I was gonna like be like, oh, I was thinking of you and something we were talking about. Gone. And I was like, that kind of sucks because it's like, fuck, I don't have a way to talk to you now. But then I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what though? Good for you because and this is actually something I want to talk about. How has that been? Because like I've almost wanted to go to such another extreme of not just necessarily doing away with my socials, but changing my phone number, and then I'm really going to curate who has access to me, even in that capacity.
I do that every phone contract. I get a new number. And I don't know what it is. I just find that I don't always like being readily available. And it's not that you are, but there's an expectation, or at least I was perceiving as such, that there is an expectation for me to be available to reply to whatever comes in as and when. That's not just me. I think we live in a very instantaneous society now. Everyone wants everything right away. Everyone, there's not a lot of patience, but we can get onto a bit more patience later on. But in general, I love it. It's nice to be surprised by things. It's nice that the friendships I do have feel a little more meaningful if someone sends me a picture that, I mean, fucking hell, everyone's popping them out. But if someone sends me a picture like, oh, I'm a dad again, or like I've just had my second child, or I just got this qualification, I'm doing this with work and stuff, I'm like, that's rad. And it's nice to be in the loop, but I'm definitely not as in the loop. I feel like I live under a rock. I miss shows. I miss this. I miss that release. I do that. But I found that when did I get rid of it? November 2023. Yeah, just my mind is quieter. My focus is probably better. It's still a work in progress, but yeah, I don't really feel like I'm missing out on much. I feel like, if anything, I've gained a lot by stripping things back in that regard. But I think I said to you last time, if I wasn't cutting hair, which I'm not, then I wouldn't have a social media account. So I got rid of it.
The irony, I went to the haircutting account, saw that it hasn't been posted on in a long time, and then I go, fuck, I think you stopped cutting hair because that was the caveat you put on there. And it's very much the same for me, where if this ends, like if this thing I'm doing ends, all the shit's gone. Like I might keep Instagram just because I like taking photos and I might really do that. But beyond that, it's like my want to lurk, essentially, to just kind of to kind of be a cuck in life and just observe people, I guess, is a little bit more a thing that I think I would like instead. But I did hear something kind of recently, and it's kind of been tripping me up the last like few weeks, probably about a week and a half since I heard it. But there was a thing that I don't remember if I read it or if I saw it somewhere, but it was something to the effect of like, we're not supposed to see our face as much as we constantly do. That's cool. And I thought about that in a complete, like just like take that at face value, no pun intended, but like, I understand the sentiment is we're so caught up in how we look and the things that just, the age lines and things that we've earned of just getting older, we're trying to do away with because we're so enamored with how we're supposed to be presented online or whatever. But I really started thinking about that in conjunction to like the grouping of people. Like maybe we're not supposed to know as many people as we do or have access to at any given point in time, that it really should just be like it probably was back in, the early settlers' time, where it's like you maybe knew your literal community, like your 30, 40 people that you would see pretty consistently. Beyond that, that's about it. And that's all really we have the bandwidth for. And that's why we're so fucking stressed out now about everything. And like you said, keeping access to everybody. And I almost was even thinking about it in correlation to writing an album. It's like, typically we're not bothering a band. Where's the next song? Where's the next album? When's all these things? Because we know it takes time for those things. So why don't we allow that same thing in life, in other like creatives? Like, why don't we just do that for people in a not creative space?
Yeah, you raise a few interesting points there. I actually read something similar the other day that was talking about youth obsessed society. It's like everyone wants to appear younger. Everyone's obsessed with this idea of looking younger, which is interesting. But again, it's because everybody chooses to be unsure. And it's just, that's fine as well. Like everything, society and technology and everything just evolves. Everything changes, right? So it's if people feel comfortable doing that, then power to them. But funnily enough, in the 2 years since The Seventh Son came out, I have never had as much to post about. 2 world tours, a record, childhood dreams coming true tenfold, changes in career choices, loads of fun things happening at home, me and my wife, whatever that is. You'd think that I'd probably want to post about that, but I just don't think about it. I'm just living in the moment, and that's just me. Like, there's not a problem with people using Instagram. It's there to be used, but it certainly doesn't feel as like everything's curated and everything's created. It's not just a spontaneous moment you're sharing or your friend falling asleep on like a 12-pack of Coors or something,
Right.
So yeah, I think it's not for me. The way of things at present is not for me. So I've really enjoyed just kind of getting to know my trigger points and stuff, I guess, especially when it comes to like anxiety, because I've certainly felt a lot less of it since I've relinquished some of that need to share all the time, I think.
So a question I would have then, a couple actually. So first of all, let's start with the deciding to kind of leave one career behind. Like, what was the caveat for that? Because it seemed like in our last conversation, like it was a completely different creative, artistic way for you to do something, and kind of like another outlet like that for you. Plus, sort of, like you said, giving to others in another way. It was kind of a way to give yourself to others and give them sort of like a fresh appearance and give them self-confidence, maybe that they didn't have. So I would feel like that would be kind of hard to walk away from.
Yeah, it was. And certainly the community that I'd become a part of. But the truth is, I was becoming so far removed from that because of the touring that we were doing. And then once the touring had stopped, it was like, oh, we need to think about writing. So that pulls me away from that too. People need a service that's reliable and regular, at least in that regard. And it's something that I felt that like I was struggling to put so much attention to, so my hours kind of cut down. And I said this to Matt, who owned the shop. He's a dear friend of mine. Like, we still speak all the time, and I still get still pop down to the shop. He couldn't fit me in the other day though, so I had a paddy and shaved it all off. That's why this is. So if you're watching this, brother, I love you, but look at this, it's not good. So yeah, basically, I just had a conversation with him. We're just like, look, man, I feel like this is something that deserves a lot of time and attention, and the brand that he'd created that I loved contributing to and being a part of also warranted someone that would be willing to put that time and dedication into that chair, because that's his time and money too. So I just felt like it was the right thing to do for myself to focus more on this new record, and for anyone else who's got a talent to put that in the shop and foster that community and that creative outlet, I guess. So I feel like I'm not too far removed from it, because what I gained out of it is like some really good connections and really good friends. So yeah, I'm grateful for it. But it was getting to the point when I got back from Australia 2023, I was like, man, we're starting to gear up and write a new record. I think I'm away from this often enough. It's probably time and the right thing to do to step back. So yeah, that was that really. It's bittersweet, because every time I pop into the shop, it's like you'll see old faces and you get the urge to kind of, maybe I could pick these up again at some point in the future. So I'm not ruling that out at all. And not necessarily at that shop, I hope that someone's in that chair absolutely smashing it. But just in general, it's nice to have that skill and that qualification. And it's a really nice timestamp in my life that I look back with fondness. And I'm proud of myself, to be honest, that I put myself in that position to be vulnerable and learn a new skill and get fucked off with it and absolutely love it at the same time. And, it's an emotional roller coaster when you're learning anything new and trying to adopt new skills. So, and with that, I think it actually gave me an opportunity to write in a different way. So I think it's a positive thing, really.
Sorry, I always bring this up, and then I never remember the lady who did the TED Talk. So sorry, I'm trying to find this up.
No,
but basically, so what you're kind of talking about, and I don't remember if we talked about this previously, but there is a lady, and again, I'm trying to find it, but she talks about being a multi-potentialite. And the idea and the concept is basically, when we grow up, we're asked, what do you want to be, singularly? And that it kind of puts so much like all or nothing on this thing but we as people change and grow, and our passions can change and grow as well.
Yeah.
And that some people would look at you being like, I want to do this thing. And then all of a sudden it becomes, well, now I'm focused on this. And then it becomes this thing. And whatever these things are, that a lot of people typically would look at that as being like, well, you're non-committal, you're too all over the place. And it's like, no, I have a passion. I had one. It was this for a while. I exhausted that to whatever end that I wanted to take it to. And now I'm passionate about this thing. And I may come back to that thing. And I still have those skills and that knowledge. But I always feel like it's kind of interesting that so many of us do that. And it's almost like kind of like we even internalize and then outwardly say like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. And it's like, that's okay. And so to me, it is. And it's a thing though, where I feel like we're again, and beating a dead horse, probably social media makes us feel like we have to stay committed to a thing. And it's like, no, man, like find what you're passionate about. And sometimes it'll take you on a journey where it takes you somewhere else entirely than where you originally expected it to be. But I think the other thing in that is, and it sounds like the positive is, it made you refocus on your music, which is probably the thing you've been most passionate and most dedicated to for the longest part of your life. And that just gives you something that you can't find anywhere else. And now you understand that more wholly than you ever have.
I think so. I think I'm quite passionate about being passionate. And the thing that you find passion in, as you said, will change, or not like change, but like you might go in a little cycle. For example, sometimes I'll get bang into running and I'll just run and run and run. And then I'll go to a sparring session, which I haven't maybe been to for like 4 weeks. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to spar instead of going running because like this is exhausting, but like I absolutely love it. But then I'll go for a run and be like, oh, you can't do everything all the time. But, I'm 32 years old and there's a lot that I've done in my life and there's a lot I hope to do as well. There's a lot that I'd like to turn my hand at, or I don't know what that is, but like, I just know that what I do and what I like and what I want out of life or whatever does not define me or anything, or you, or whatever you want doesn't define you, your job role, what you listen to. When you're younger, I think we put a lot of importance on that and we find a lot of comfort in that. But as you get older, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm listening to whatever that is. But when you're younger, you're like, oh no, I ain't gonna listen to that, like, because I listen to Bury Your Dead and that is it. Like that was pretty much me anyway. But as you get older, you relinquish that, or maybe you don't find comfort in the thing that you find gives you an identity, because really it doesn't. You shed that skin and you find new. So that happens all the time, and I hope that that's the case, because I never thought I'd been to kickboxing, and here I am, like 3 belts away from black and just absolutely loving it. Do you know what I mean? So it's I might find myself into knitting at one point in life. And that's cool. But if I knit, then I want to knit a duvet. I want to knit a jumper, and I want to knit one for all my friends as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to throw myself into these things and see what happens, really. But yeah, I think you're right. Back to the music piece. That's something that is unwavering and is very much still tied to my identity, for better or worse. But that just is. It feels like it's a part of me. But music is a powerful thing in that regard. So I'm glad that I can still contribute to it in that way. But this last record was super collaborative, and that was really freeing as well. It was nice for me to let that guard down and be like, oh, there is an alternate way here. It doesn't have to be, I'm not always right. And I do struggle with that with Bury Tomorrow, at least, because I'm like, nah, like it's all, it starts up here. So then it's like, well, if I'm the guitarist and the main songwriter, or I was in the past, it's just like, I feel like I know what this needs. But it's been nice to let go of that, shed that skin as well.
Well, I mean, a few things to that. I mean, it's something I'm again, there's things that I've known to be true for pretty much my whole life, and things you hear throughout. But when you get older, they just kind of take on a different meaning. And something I've kind of been latching on to is like the idea that like every so often your taste buds change. So therefore, like things you hated now maybe you like.
Cucumber.
Sure. And it's a thing where
cucumber, and now I like it.
Yeah. But it's funny to like, because it's funny, like you were bringing up music, and Mike from Boston Manor, like the other day was like played Savage Gardens to the Moon and Back. And I was like, I kind of remember sort of liking that song, but like I was a kid, probably like 9, 10 when that was like out. And I just like was like, eh. And then I remember listening to it, and within like a few seconds, I sent him a text and I go, dude, this shit feels like early 90s Duran Duran. Why haven't I fucking gone back and listened to this? Because I fucking love Duran Duran now. And
Yeah,
it's just
Duran Duran.
it's just funny that it's like the thing, like you said, like, oh, I hated this, or I just didn't like it at the time. Maybe I just couldn't appreciate it. Maybe there was something in it that didn't click with me. But now as I get older and I can revisit these things, it takes on a whole new meaning. And I think something, I haven't gotten to hear the whole new record yet, but just with the singles that are out currently, something to me that I felt was a little bit different is this feels a little more lived in. And by that, I mean, this feels like instead of people writing or coming together with like, here are my parts, here's my song, and we just kind of create it from that. This feels like a band got together and kind of like fleshed out ideas. Things flow a lot better than I think just here's a part, here's this. It just feels that way to me listening to it. But something else that I wonder, because this sounds like a thing when I talk to people now, I'm wondering if we're so accustomed to, I do my thing, I do it behind a computer screen, it's so insular. And going through the pandemic and stuff like that, that everyone's like, fuck that. I want community. I want that to be a thing where it's more collaborative. Like, we're a band. We're supposed to be in this thing together. Why do we create something so separately from one another?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because the ideas will always be born separately. But I feel that when it came to us really honing in on them, we'd just trade demos. Like, we just had a master file that we could all go in and then pull it out. So it was like, I find that naturally I just work better on my own, but I think that's because I've got space to do that. There's a song on the new record called Paradox, which it's the last song on the record, but to me it's like my love letter to I guess to like bands a little like Misery Signals and like Hopes Fall, certainly the A-Types record. Early melodic, like It Prevails. I used to love all that sort of shit, man. So it's I just lit this little dim light that I've got here, put my hood up and just played. And it was like, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that with any of my friends because I'm literally just getting ripped, got my hood up and I'm just, vibing hard. And I loved it. I was like, oh, like I wasn't playing anything super technical. I was just playing what I felt at the time, and it was like a really dreary March, probably like a year ago, really dreary day, and I just found a lot of comfort in this nostalgic feeling, and I wanted to like bottle that up. So I feel like I can do that when I'm on myself, but then when it's bringing the songs to life, truly that benefits from a collaborative experience. So we did spend a lot of time together because of the amount of touring we were doing, but then in the writing process, or at least the recording process, we were on tour back and forth. So we'd be like in the studio for 3 weeks, then we'd go to America for like 2. Then we'd come back and then we'd be in the studio and we'd rewrite things constantly. There wasn't anything that didn't undergo like mass change constantly, which was great because we were challenging each other as writers too. So I guess that does tie into the writing aspect. It felt like it was never going to get finished. But as we kept going, it was like, oh, like we know that there was no outside influence either because of the schedule we were on. It was like, it was just us 6. Just smashing through this, but trying to create something different at the same time. I feel like we're really on this one honed in on what we all individually like and try and make that what Bury Tomorrow is too. And I'd like to think that we did a really good job. So it's been interesting, but I'm already really excited for the next writing process because myself and Tom got together last week and started writing a demo, and we were just like, man, like this is just fun. It was just 2 mates hanging out, just writing riffs, and that's what it is all about ultimately.
It's funny doing this podcast. Sometimes it just gets really interesting how like, and I will say, I'll throw the caveat out there, and I know people potentially listening to be like, oh, rolling your eyes, like of course you would think that way. But in the last couple of years, especially since we last talked, I've like just really not been into drinking very much anymore. Like I'll do it, like because it's an obviously a way more social thing that you can go to a bar or a pub or whatever and go have some drinks with friends. I've really been getting more into like smoking weed and psychedelics and stuff, and it's like somewhat recently, like I went out and did like an acid trip. We were in a casino, so it's all self-contained. I knew I wasn't going anywhere other than this place. And I just feel like the amount of comfortability with myself, my thoughts, kind of being able to articulate how I feel in the moment or whatever, and then kind of with the people around me, that it's funny that something I think as I'm getting older that I'm feeling better about is kind of opening up more, letting people that I think are my really good friends. And it's like, why am I scared to show you something? Why am I afraid to tell you like how I feel about something, or show you something that I'm proud of, or like whatever. And I think it's because we all have our own insecurities about stuff, but it's like, I know for me, like music's a big thing. And I just love I love getting high on something like weed or whatever, and just fucking listening to music. And to the point where I created a Twitter that no one knows exists. And I'll just, before I go to bed and I get high, I'll just start making a playlist. And the goal is to eventually, for myself, just to go back and have a really bomb ass playlist that I created for myself. And it's about moods and vibes and stuff. And it's almost like a sort of a journal of just like, this makes me feel this way, and just tapping into that. But I don't feel like we allow ourselves permission to do that. So it's like, to me, thinking about like jamming with friends, and an old friend of mine that was in a band and we lived together, one of the things I brought up randomly was like working titles of songs that we were working on. Toward the end of our conversation, he's like, oh my God, I haven't thought of that in fucking 10, 15 years. And I go, I know, I was thinking about it the other day. And actually that's what I was trying to come up with on the guitar, is I'm trying to remember how to play some of these riffs that I haven't thought of in 15 years.
Yeah.
But it's just funny to kind of be like, that was sort of the beginning for me, because I looked up to him as a musician. It's like, that was my first kind of foray into, okay, this is kind of scary, but here's a vibe that I felt. And it made me want to write something. And then you kind of were like, oh, I have an idea for that. And then that's where like the collaboration process came, and it really strengthened our friendship on a completely different level. And if you have never had that experience, I guess it's kind of hard to really explain it, but it's fucking wild to be like, this didn't exist until you and I are in this room, and now we have something.
Yeah, I love that. And it can exist forever. It's, vibrations and sounds they just exist. And it's pretty mad, to be fair, that when I listen to songs, sort of, again, not being ashamed to like say what you listen to, Him are one of my favorite bands. And if I put love metal on and I hear The Sacrament, like, oh yeah, exactly, fucking let's go.
I have a ton of Him tattoos.
And I hear like the start of The Sacrament, or Sweet Pandemonium, that
fucking
I'm
Sabbath
just
riff,
covered in goosebumps, man. And I was like 10 when that came out. And I just remember how I felt. So you can tap into that. And it's cool now that when I listen to these songs, or any Bury Tomorrow song, really, for better or worse, you remember what the vibe was when you were creating that song. And it's nice to do that now as a shared thing, where I'm just like, oh, it's not me that wrote all the riffs. Like, it's nice that it's like a cool thing where it's like, oh, I remember where we were when we did that. Oh, I remember where I was when you sent that. Like, What If I Burn is a song that Ed just had pretty much a full demo for. And I was in York with a friend of mine, calling one of my other friends to wish him a happy birthday. And I was a day early. And I was like, oh man, just give me a second. I'm just going to order a coffee and listen to this. And it was What If I Burn. And I was just like, oh, so now I always remember where I was when I first heard that. And I hope people like our music enough for that to become a part of their memory bank too, and serve as a time capsule in that regard, because it's such a powerful thing, but it's lovely to go back to. I mean, there's some songs I just don't get bored of hearing, like Bjork's Hyper Ballad. I never get bored of hearing that. And that reminds me of CKY too, I think. It was like on a montage.
The Iceland trip.
Exactly, yeah. And how old was I then? Jesus, 9, 10 again.
Dude, we were in Nashville. We were in Nashville about a month or so ago now. And right before our last day, I was just like, one of the other people had left, so their room was open. And I was like, I just need a little bit of space away from, like, this sounds terrible, my wife. But it's like, when you're on a trip and with other people, you're like, I just kind of need to get the fuck away from everyone for a few people for a little bit and just do my own thing. Yeah. And so I just threw on YouTube and watched like random CKY clips and stuff. And I was like, oh, and one of them was the Ryan Dunn going back to Iceland to get dumped down into an Icelandic waterfall in a barrel.
Yeah.
And there was just like so much of it that like watching that, I'm like, and I've said this before, but it's like, man, there was so much of like that, the way that it was edited and the way it looks at like Bam really has such a touch on our current pop culture way
Oh
of
yeah,
editing film and shit that I don't think gets a lot of credit
so
for.
snappy that did it
And like
exist prior to
repetitive
that?
jokes and stuff. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. No, the him thing too has been like, I made a post somewhat recently. I go, becoming an adult is understanding that Deep Shadows is the best record. And a lot of people were like, 10 years ago, even later, I would have fucking argued and been like, no, it's love metal. No, it's Razor Blade. But yeah, I think if you really are a fan of the band, like Deep Shadows is kind of like the penultimate album for that band. Like it's
Yeah,
got a little bit of everything you would want on it.
I think it does. I think in general, man, like anything prior to Dark Light is just it's awesome. There's some gold on Screamworks
Oh,
too.
Venus Doom, I think, is, as I get older, is my second favorite record because it goes back to more of like greatest love songs and a little bit of Razor Blade Romance, like more of that like typo, like
Mm,
we're a doom metal band thrown in here too, 6-7 minute long songs that they
yeah,
started touching on Dark Light, but because Wings of a Butterfly just broke them so big, it's like, yeah, it's that record.
yeah, true. I remember that being fucking huge. It's a shame that what I do think's not to talk about him all the time, but like
I don't talk about them enough.
yeah, me neither. None of my mates are into him. But the "And Love Said No" single that went on the greatest hits and Love Said No,
Yep.
that really did feel like a it didn't feel like it belonged on Dark Light, but it definitely felt like a really cool continuation of love metal.
Yeah.
Though I didn't really feel like they captured anywhere else in between that time. So it's quite an interesting song that.
No, it definitely felt like it would kind of was, it probably would have been like, if I had to guess, it felt like because the Sacrament was already there, it felt too
Mm,
similar to that, so you didn't need that on Love Metal. But same with like the Solitary Man cover from Neil Diamond. Like Tim has some of the best covers that, like, even some of the weird ones like Rendezvous with Anus, the Turbo Negro cover,
yeah,
where you're like,
yeah.
how do you make Turbo Negro sound like a hymn song? But you did. And it's very amusing to hear Villa like sing Rendezvous with Anus in like a very nice falsetto.
Oh man, like I think after our last conversation, we did some shows with his VV project.
Oh,
Um,
I love that project
and I
so much.
saw him and it was amazing. Like I've got videos on my phone. It's just like it was like I was at a football match. I'm stood there singing my arms, like, right here in my arms. It was like it was meant for me at that time. And he kept walking past, man, and I wish that I'd have just been like, because I don't really like I did with Jack Black, and got a picture with him and like hanging out, or whatever. Could have had just a very normal conversation and been like, dude, I love your music, and it is very much responsible for my, endeavor into rock, but just couldn't bring myself to have that conversation.
Well, I mean, the thing that's kind of interesting for me is I remember getting like, so around the pandemic when he was doing before the Neon Noir and he kind of put out that EP, I was tapped to have him on the show. Like I reached out to the publicist and I thought it was going to be a basically a fuck no or just never an answer. And they're like, yeah, what dates work for you? What times? How long do you need? Like, and it was basically all but confirmed. And then pandemic. So it never happened. And then basically your guys' publicist, Adam Splitter, ended up doing like working Neon Noir. And I remember waking up and getting the email, like basically with the media link to the record and that like the tour was happening. And I felt like a fan like I haven't felt in a long time. And it was like, it was so nice to just feel that feeling that I think through doing this, booking shows, all that kind of stuff, where it's kind of been tampered and you're just like, yeah, I mean, they're just people, it's a whatever. But to be reminded and that there is someone or something that can make you feel and tap into that like youthful, like, oh my God, I'm so fucking excited. It felt really fucking good. And I've really
Yeah,
tried finding that more in my life, but like more in music where it's like, I just want to feel that thing that makes me happy. Like today, I was like, we're making these Sublime t-shirts with photochromatic ink, so they only are reflective out when you put them in sun. So I can't see if something's wrong with the shirt until it's literally at the end of the dryer and then taking it back. And we're just having a fucking shit day with it. And I was on a break and then I looked at some raccoon videos on Instagram and I could feel myself smiling and I was like, I need to remember this. I need to be more aware of the things that I can instantly feel my mood changing for the better, instead of just, and I guess to a degree, being aware when I do things or I'm around things that make me feel bad. That's been the one thing I'll say that I have noticed since doing a lot more psychedelics and stuff, is I am really trying to tap more into feelings of positivity and vibes and things that make me feel good, and just surrounding myself with those versus surrounded. Like I have noticed so many people now where I'm like, you're a bad vibe. You're like, you come into a room and the energy is sucked out. Everyone was having a good time. It was smiles. They're not when you're around. I don't think I need to be around you anymore.
No, I wouldn't say so. I think that feeling that you yearn for is what everybody should, because I always remind myself that and there's been times where I've not felt like a fan, but now I will go out of my way to, like, I don't expect obviously it's nice to be in a position where you can get guest lists to shows and stuff, cool, but like when it comes to like supporting bands that I love, I'll just go and support them. Like Misery Signals played their last ever UK show. It was just one. And I just started a group chat with like me and some friends from school. I was like, we need to go to this gig because we need closure. We need to see Controller live again. We need to hear the Failsafe live again. I was like, and no one's ever seen them play with Jesse. Like, that was before our time. So I used to go see Misery Signals all the time. They're like, I've said it before, but like those, that band still remains. It dies today. They were like,
it remains from here.
Exactly. So I was just like, I'm Bury You Dead. So there was 4. And yeah, I just, I was like, we got to go. Like, let's buy some tickets and we'll go. And I queued up for merch and I bought the vinyls and I was there and I sang along with my best fucking friends and I was a fan. And, you know, there was a couple of people coming up to me and being like, oh, like, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, here to, same reason as you. Like, I'm here to watch a band. And then in January, I flew to Florida to see Foundation. They're like my favorite hardcore band in the world. And they was like, oh, we're doing a reunion show. I was like, well, I'm fucking flying to Florida and I'm gonna mosh. I didn't mosh, but I my imagination did, and I was just like, here I am. I'm a fan again. I haven't seen that band for 14 years. And you know, I love hardcore, dude. Like, obviously, I'm in a metalcore band and so on, but I love Youth Crew. I love hardcore. I love straight edge. I'm not straight edge, but I love it. And it was nice to go to a show and be a part of a scene where these kids are so passionate and they're just spin kicking their dicks off. And it was so fun. And that youthful energy that we spoke about earlier, I'm not trying to recreate that. I'm not trying to like get in the pit. But I can stand there and enjoy myself in a different way to what I used to. But in these times, I feel like I'm having a conversation with my younger self and being like, this is just so pure and a genuine enjoyment. There's nothing better really than just getting to stand there and scream some words that will still mean something to you. I find that if you have an attachment, don't matter how old you are, sometimes it feels like a song's written for you, or you can just have a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just a certain love for lyricism. So yeah, it's been cool. I'm enjoying that because Bury Tomorrow is the biggest it's ever been. We can go on tour in fucking Australia and play to like 1,000 kids or whatever, but it's nice to know that I can enjoy it on both sides again. I don't know. That's great. And I hope people get that or feel that way when they come and see us, because I feel like, again, as a 32-year-old man, I've got a new appreciation for that.
I think what gets kind of interesting sometimes too, like, so very much exactly the same vibe with the Misery Signals thing. Like, they played Chicago and I was like, I gotta go. I never got to see Jesse. I've had him on the show a couple of times, and was a thing where, how do you not? Like, you know, I try to, especially musically, it's like, man, it's 3 hours, take a day off, whatever, go hang out with some friends. And some friends and I went down, had a great time. And a buddy of mine that I've known for forever is now the bassist / sometimes guitar player for the Fallen Dreams, who are opening a couple of the shows that we were on, doing
I was
changes
like 2 weeks ago, just remembering my old band supported them they did a tour with the Warriors, and we opened a couple of shows locally. But sorry to interject, but that record is still so good.
And it was a thing where I was getting ready to have foot surgery right around the time of that tour. So I was like, I can't go pit. I don't want people fucking up my shit more than potentially it would be already.
Yeah.
And I remember Damon came and grabbed me and he was like, "Oh, have you gotten up there? Can you see?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm just kind of hanging back because like I don't want to get hurt and cause more problems and more money." And then so he came and grabbed me. So like during the last song that Misery Signals did, he pulled me up side stage. And I just like got to watch and I was like, and like everyone's up there, everyone's filming, and I did the same thing. And I was like, and I posted it and I was like, this seems so fucking tacky. But I was like, man, a friendship I've had from a long time ago for a band that's from now where I live and kind of, you know, had their moment, like that was their big landmark moment with that record. And like seeing this band, like it was just such a full circle moment of a lot of things that I was like, why the fuck wouldn't I want to have a video of this? Like, this is cool. And it's the last time it's going to fucking happen. Like, there's too many things, like sometimes, and again, like I just wanted to kind of be in the moment and be a fan. And then, like I did the thing where it's like I had the phone, but I was watching, so I'm sure it's like all over the place because I'm not really paying attention to the phone.
Yeah.
But I had something similar too, like thinking about those things because it's got to be bittersweet for them to be like, well, where the fuck were you all like the last 20 years? Like, where was all of this like love and shit like that? But I'm about to go do the same thing with like two of my best friends. We're going to go see Refused like in Chicago on their farewell show. And like I hit up one of my friends because we saw them when they did the reunion shows like forever ago. And a thing I said was, I was like, this sounds really stupid. And if you guys don't want to do this, it's totally fine. I understand like there are things that just have to be for us. And I go, I kind of want a podcast like that. And I want to bring my shit. I want to do like, we're going to hang out back home, like where we all grew up. I was like, let's do something like before we go to the show. And then maybe the night after, like the show's done, let's do something. I go, I may never release it. I may never do anything with it. It might just be for us. Like where it's like, hey, 10 years ago, remember when we did this? And then I go, but I think I think there will be something there because we're lifelong friends. We're basically all like two of them are brothers. And I'm kind of the right in between the two of them. But it's like, this is a thing that we've always done. We've gone to see shows. We have seen so many bands and all the memories. Why not give that to whoever listens to this and just be like, it's okay to kind of do that and reconnect with people. And maybe your friendships aren't what they used to be when you were, you know, getting out of high school, watching CKYs and stuff like that, late at night, drinking Molsons and shit beer. But you know what? Those are the things, the foundations of your friendship that will endure and last, and the things that you look back on. And this will be the same thing, hopefully, for us as now 40-year-old men, like going and trying to relive a part of our youth through a different lens and prism.
Exactly. You're not like trying to live it again. You're just experiencing the same thing in a different way. Like, I'm on a bit of a nostalgia trip at the moment because Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake have re-released all their like old records on vinyl, like they pressed them for the first time. And my Aunt Mary, she bought me Cheer Up like in 2002. She's 95 years old, but she doesn't know the fuck I am anymore because, you know, illness has took hold and she just doesn't know the fuck I am. That's fine. But, I mean, it sucks dick, but like, it is what it is. But like, when I listen to them songs, I'm reminded of the £20 that she put in my Christmas card and was like, go and buy yourself a CD. So I bought that and then I pre-ordered that. And then when I go and listen to it, I'm like, I'm 10 years old again. Like, it's just, it's beautiful, man. But when we're talking about, I guess what we spoke about at the start, when it comes to like not feeling like you want to share everything, you don't have to share everything. But if you are sharing something, you can do that in an authentic way. Just call your friends or, you know, be like, this is happening. Or if I don't see it, which most likely I won't, it's like my friend, he sent me a picture of the FYA Fest and was just like, Foundation are getting back together. I'm like, let's buy the fucking tickets. Let's go. And that it's nice to be surprised in that way. It's like one of my favorite artists is called Bob Mould. He used to be in Husker Du. He just released a new record. I didn't know it was coming out. Oh my god, I've been running to it for like the past week. It's so good. It's really mellow, good, feel good rock music. And even that, you know, it's just like I'm thinking, I can't say what we're doing, but we're doing something in November, which finishes in Europe. And I'm like, well, we got he's playing in Finland like 2 days after the tour finishes. I'm like, maybe I'll just go to Finland and catch the show, you know? So it's, you can share things in a different way, in an authentic and more meaningful way than it is just going on Instagram and just being like, oh, look at me doing this, when you're not actually doing that at all. You've set it up. So it's, and I'm not saying you, I mean just like society in general. But yeah, I think that's quite a nice notion that music is actually the tie here that is worth sharing. My thing is making playlists for people. So obviously once we've done this call, I'll get your WhatsApp, and Jesus, it's going to be a constant ping pong of sharing songs, I assume, but it's nice. It's good to do that.
I was going to say, you are going to probably get the two artists that, so I guess they are doing a charity thing for the Garden State soundtrack out in California or whatever, which the movie was, I mean, good movie, soundtrack was great, but
yeah,
Frou Frou is performing. And if you know them, or more to the point, Imogene Heap, it's like phenomenal fucking record. That record, Details, is an album that I can listen to if I'm happy, sad, in fall, spring, winter. Like, it fits any vibe, anything. And I was kind of going through like a little pity party a couple of days ago, and I threw that on, and I was like, yep, it still works for that too. Like, it's amazing that it's like the same song that I can be like, man, I'm sad and depressed. Like, this makes me feel good listening to it, and kind of fits the vibe. But then I can listen to that song when I'm happy, and I'm like, it's a really great, lovely song. And and I just go, how the fuck does that work? How do you have a song that can literally, for me, do this? And the other one that I had become obsessed with, and I know I'm like too far behind of when it first came out, is those first two the last two Harry Styles records. Fine Line record. Oh my God, what a fucking record.
Yeah.
It feels very lived in, feels very sonically like 70s kind of sounds and stuff to me. Like, he's found a way to make something sound nostalgic while still feeling relevant to now. And then I just went and saw Justin Timberlake about a month ago, and I feel like I had an epiphany while smoking weed, watching that. And I was like, this is good. This is going to be a Vegas resident at some point. Like, he will be like out in Vegas and play every other weekend for a while. And it's a great show, but I was like, I should have seen him on the Future Sex Love Sounds album. Like, when he was really, really fucking hungry to be like the biggest pop star ever, and just like having that moment. Because now it's like, it works and the songs work and they're still great, and he knows how to play with them and do all the stuff. But it doesn't feel like, when you're watching him do his dances and stuff, you're like, these are too old. You've done them too much now. Like, they're not as exciting for you as it was when you only had those two records to play. And I feel like I had the epiphany. I go, I need to go see Harry Styles, because I don't want to get too far removed from him being where I think he's kind of in his creative pocket right now, like doing the best shit he might do while he's still hungry and wants to kind of be a big solo artist at this point, and just truly be who he is.
Yeah, no, I mean, that dude has some amazing tunes. But
are you, by the way, to add it, to make it kind of more of an actual question instead of us just bullshitting, but are you aware of that at all? Like, in your legacy, I mean, this is what now, your 8th record for the band. You know, you guys have put out a lot of stuff kind of pretty quickly in the last handful of years. Like, are you thinking about these things now? Like, because I feel like you all now, through the comfortability of who you are while still being hungry to maybe want to prove something to yourselves and to the industry, are you kind of aware of the legacy you're kind of starting to create for yourselves and what you want to leave behind?
I never really think too much about like the legacy bit, because it's I feel like if it's one of those things that we just we know we're committed to contributing to this genre of music. Do I listen to as much of it? No. But do I feel as passionate about it? Absolutely. Like, there's so many great bands doing great things, and those younger bands now are like, they're rising up, they're doing the thing, and it's like, oh, where have you been? It's not where have they been, it's just like, where have I not been? I've not really been paying attention, which is great, because then you can be inspired by this new wave of metal, if you will. But it seems that metal isn't as elitist at all, because the whole dynamics change. It's like you can just do whatever you want, which is great. That's what it should be. Like, metal is way more than a battle jacket and an ego, you know. But when it comes to legacy, I don't really ever think about it, because it's not. I don't know if that's any of my business. I feel like it's down to the fans. It's down to the people who consume it in a way, I've got till 8, don't worry about it. But yeah, I think in general, I'm very aware of where we came from, the time where we came from, and that I still love that. So that, our era of metalcore, if you will. How do you do that in a way that's fresh, invigorating, without trying too hard, but staying true to what you want to hear? But then it's like, well, we don't listen to our own music. So like, what is this weird, like, trap almost? The thing is that we just, if you lead with passion, then that your fan base will find you. And I think that this record in particular, the way that we went about writing it, there is some familiar nods. Like, for example, I think Let Go is a nod to our Cannibal era. I think there's a song called Forever the Night on there, which is a bit of a nod to Black Flame almost. There's a song like Waiting, which we've never done. Like, we've never done a song like that. And then Villainarch is almost kind of like an evolution of the Abandoners Bolt Cutter style dark song that we have. Because I love the tempo of that song. I don't know, it feels dancey, and I love that sort of dark dance music, and I want people to be able to move to it. Exactly, yeah. And I just want people to move to it. I also don't want people to think too much when they're listening to our music. I just want them to just to enjoy it, just to feel it. It really does come to life in a live environment. So I hope that people feel like they like it enough to come and share that moment with us, and you can let the outside be the outside, and just in that moment, we're all together. So I think, I guess, to answer your question, really, man, like, when it comes to a legacy thing, that's what I want. I want people to feel like they're a part of something because they allow us to feel like we're a part of something. So I think always just lead with passion, which will breed authenticity, which will then let the legacy part do its own thing. Because for me to want something more than what I'm doing, I think would be greedy, or it just wouldn't serve me. Right. That's not to say it's not important, but it's just doing it and showing up is important enough. Maybe that is the legacy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the hard thing is, I think I've been really fixated on it. I know we got to get ready to wrap up.
No, man, I've got 15 minutes. You're good.
Okay. I was to say, I think a thing I really have been thinking about lately has been more of, we're so enamored with the work and the process, I think, in a lot of things in life, that we don't take the time to be present and kind of look around and be like, and enjoy the journey, that where it's taking you, where you're at in it currently, taking stock, because it's always head down, keep working, keep pushing, keep grinding, keep doing. And it's like, well, fuck, man, when do you ever get to enjoy the hard work, the labor, all these other things? And it's like, I'm really fixated on trying to find more of that, like, where it's like, I still will work, I'll still grind, and I'll still do all the things, but man, I want to enjoy it while it's happening. I want to, like, remember the moments. And I think that's a kind of a continuity of what we've just been talking about throughout the whole thing today, is just kind of being present and understanding, like, what's going on around you and taking it all in. And then maybe it informs something else that you do moving forward from there.
I think so. Because I think as well, music aside, there's so many instances of the day that you just will never remember, just ever, which is, a bit of a shame sometimes, because me and my wife were talking about this. We went to, this is mad, but don't judge me. We started watching the Mr. McMahon Netflix documentary.
How is it?
Well, it was quite entertaining, but like, I was never a big wrestling fan.
Oh, say I was.
It was quite interesting. I liked it for a period of time, maybe like 2001. So like
the Attitude Era.
Yep. In there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. So it was nice to, like, take a trip down memory lane in that regard. And one week, my wife was like, "What are we going to do this week? Like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to eat? What do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't really know." She was like, "WWE in Sheffield has got tickets." I was just like, "Just buy them. Like, let's just go. We'll just go." We had the best time, and we knew not one wrestler. We didn't know what the signs were. I was like, "What is OTC? I don't understand." and just so much of this lore that we didn't understand. We were just newbies in this environment, surrounded by these like passionate fans, and I was surprised because everyone was our age. Like there was kids, sure, but like more adults. And then I watched it, and I'm watching them throw themselves around, and they're breaking the ribs, and they're breaking the feet, and they're doing all this. And I was like, these guys are like pretty serious, actually. Obviously, the storytelling, whatever. But since we just absolutely love it, mate, and yeah, we now absolutely love it. So I can't remember where I was going with that. Like, there was a point to me telling you that, like, there was a point about just like letting your guard down and like getting into something new, I think. But
well, I mean, so it's funny. So like my wife now is into a lot of things that she wasn't into. Wrestling kind of became one of them. I know none of her coworkers or anything listen to it. I don't give a shit. But it's funny because like I had this epiphany when we were out in Oregon, seeing our friend that lives out there that used to be our roommate, and we went to a couple strip clubs out there because Oregon's got really great strip clubs. And that's kind of a thing like my wife and I will go do. Like we'll just go to strip clubs. Like we're going to Atlanta in a month. We're probably going to go hit up a new one that we've not been to. Strip clubs and gay bars. We love going to those when we travel. But it was really funny because I had this epiphany like at this Portland strip club, like because the girls there like had knee pads and shit on. And I've not seen that because I worked in a strip club like as one of my first jobs out of high school. So like the whole allure of it has been just forever fucking ruined for me. But I had this epiphany one day when I was like, man, these girls with fucking knee pads, that's not sexy. But then it was more of the art of like pole dancing and doing different things. The getting naked was kind of secondary. And then it kind of reminded me of like where this art form kind of came from, like the pole dancing and all these kind of things. And then I just had like a light bulb moment where I go, oh, fuck, strip clubs are like professional wrestling. If you think it's real, it's fucking sad and pathetic. If you're in on it and know that you're just there to have a good time and it's all for entertainment and it's fake, it is the best fucking time you'll ever have. Yeah, and as long as you're with people who get that, it's great. Now I've since ruined my wife on going to wrestling because we went to like a Monday Night Raw and I got seats real close, like by the entrance and close to the ring. And now like when we sit kind of far away, it's like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Mean.
But it's a fucking blast. And it's one of those where like sometimes you're just like, and we've just been doing so much of that lately of just like going to things like, you know, we're fortunate to live in a B market essentially. So we have like local like we have the Denver Nuggets G League team is here in Grand Rapids. So like we'll go on Fridays for cheap ass things, get a couple of $2 beers and some $2 hot dogs, sit in the fucking nosebleeds and just have a good time. And it's just it's been so cool to just like kind of be in this phase of our relationship since we're not going to have kids where it's like, let's just pick up and go do whatever we want to do and have fun doing it. Yeah. It's fucking great.
Yeah. It is. I'm so sorry. I can't remember a lot. I don't even know if it was music related, but like, it felt like there was a segue, but I think in general, like just letting your guard down. We've definitely tried to do that musically with this record. So it's, hopefully people like it, because if they don't, well, I don't want to keep doing the same thing, you know? So it's like you can try and do the same thing, or at least with the same energy, much like I was saying, but it's like hopefully people get what we're trying to do with it. I mean, the album title itself is completely different to anything we've done before. That's just a lyric from a song, it's track 7, I think, called Silence
Isn't Helping Us.
Yes. Yeah. Tom is such a good lyricist, and you know I scream bias because you know I'm his bandmate, but he's such a he's got a very cool way of writing words, and I just like the idea of, you know, when we're saying about everything's instantaneous now, and at least what I got from it felt like a Kurt Cobain lyric almost, where it's like you can just put any kind of meaning to it whatsoever. I really like Nirvana for that, but I just like the idea of haunting someone with patience, because it's like it just feels quite poetic, but in a world that is just like now, it's like it's quite a scary thing for someone to even think about being patient and to wait for something. So I like the idea of being haunted by the idea of being patient and waiting for something. What is anyone waiting for? Why are we not trying to like just carpe diem in that regard? But being still is also important, and you can reflect on that. And if you're haunted by that, or at least reminded of it in any way, it's just the world is just chaos. It's absolute chaos. So I just really liked the lyric when he mentioned it. I was like, this could be an album title, and the guys were just like, yeah, whatever. And then in the weeks that come and be like, been thinking about what you said about that being an album title, and it just felt like the right record to push the needle on that. So I'm excited for you to hear it.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because something that I noticed between I think it's Waiting and maybe even What If I Burn, I think does it too, or maybe it's Villain Arc. But I noticed like there's little things that seemingly are going to lead into the next song, and your singles are every other song. So I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something that gets me to the next song when you kind of break it up that way. So I was hoping to get the new record, like the media link for it, so I can see if I'm right with that assumption of what I'm noticing. But I'll have to wait just like everybody else. But
no,
as of when we're recording this, you guys announced a tour. Yeah, you announced a tour today that you guys will be. We're leaving for Atlanta the week after you're in Chicago / Milwaukee. So the Milwaukee date's a Friday. I'm trying to see if my wife will want to pony up some money or whatever and go see you guys. So
where, obviously, just drop me a message, dude. I'll sort you out. But like, where is home for you?
Grand Rapids, Michigan. So where Still Remains is from.
Yeah, respect. Yeah. Yep. But for some reason, like how far are you away from Chicago then?
3 hours. Well, technically with the time difference, it would be 2.5, but with the actual time, it's 3 hours away driving. Right. And then Milwaukee is 4. You just got to get through Chicago to then drive the rest of the flat way to. You'll do it here pretty soon. You'll see.
Yeah, man. I was in Chicago for some business related things. Maybe last January, and I got Amtrak up to Milwaukee. Got hit by a blizzard, and we had to get out of there fast to make our flight home because I was going on tour the next day. So I said to the guys I was there with, I was like, lads, we need to leave. Like, we're gonna get stuck in Milwaukee. So thankfully we made it. But man, I've never been as cold in my life.
It's like literally today it is 60 degrees. I think a couple of days ago it was like down to like 15. So it's just a roller coaster. Yeah.
Yesterday I was in a beer garden with my wife, just having a bag of crisps, and she loves this non-alcoholic cider at the moment, and they serve it there. So we just went up there, and it was like we were sat in t-shirts. It was amazing. Today, like, it's freezing. So we're not winning, but yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, if you can make a show, dude, of course, like, come out, like, that'd be great.
Yeah, I was telling her, I was like, you haven't been back in the stateside in a couple of years. So, and I knew I was talking to you, and I was like, I tried last time, and I think it's just some shit happened. And then when I think I went to hit you up, like, you were gone. So I was like, I don't have a way to be like, hey, like, I'm coming to the show. Like, let's try to rip and hang if you got time.
I think I remembered my point, actually, funnily enough now, about the wrestling thing. When you do something and you don't expect it, like, there's just such a great memory. And I feel that way. So the last tour we did, we were supporting Electric Callboy, and we played like Pier 17 in New York. And to play in a city where you've got like the cityscape, I was just like, well, I'm never going to forget this. And the point I was making is there are so many moments in your day that you will just forget. Like, you'll absolutely just forget. And you're like, I can't remember what I was doing like last Thursday or whatever. But how great it is that when it's tied to entertainment or music in particular, you remember the date, you remember where you were, where you bought your ticket, like where you first heard it. It's like this really beautiful way of keeping memories in the time span. But yeah, I'm stoked with it, and I'm gonna stay till 10 past, and that's
okay. So I'm gonna say this because unbeknownst to you, so this is going to end up being probably episode probably in the 9 to 10 left before my episode 500. I have been collecting I'm doing like an Oprah's favorite week where I'm having my favorite guests that I've had on, like, so I have most of them done at this point. But it's been so interesting. There are other people I wanted to include, and I kind of wanted to have lead up to my 500. But it's been so funny because, like, when I've tried to get some of those people, it just doesn't happen. But what's been really interesting is the people that are kind of falling into place over this like next few weeks, and those 10 episodes like this just fucking happen. And it's again a stark reminder that I don't need to fucking force everything in life, because when I do, it doesn't happen the way I want it to. And if I just kind of let go, interestingly, the world just kind of puts shit as it's supposed to be, and it kind of just manifests the way it's supposed to. And it's like, again, I know that because I talk about smoking weed and doing a bunch of other shit like that, that it's like, everyone's like, well, of course you're going to feel that way. But like, this is a prime example in my mind of like how it just keeps happening. And I just need to, the world clearly is telling me that. And I just need to be reminded of that constantly and just be like, let it happen. And it'll happen when it's supposed to, as it's supposed to happen. And it'll probably be infinitely better than if I had shoved it and tried to make it happen.
Oh, I could not agree more. There's been so many moments in my life, especially when it comes to like the band's career, where it's been like, this would be probably better for my mental health if I just quit. But like we decide not to, and you just carry on. And I stopped expecting so much from it. Back to kind of trying to become more, not trying to become more of a fan. I've naturally just become more of a fan of, Gunner shows again, or like certain times anyway. And or just putting, just going to more shit, just like doing more stuff. And it's I've not tried to make myself do that. I kind of just got rid of any want for anything, whether that be success, whether it be financial, whether it be friendship, whatever. Just completely let go of it. And what comes back to you is actually pretty ridiculous. I've found that, especially in the last 12 months, like there's been some crazy shit go on, like for the best in my personal life for sure. And I've just been like, man, like fucking hell, like I should have stopped being a miserable prick, because it's I'm just putting barriers up to like what is not available, but what is possible. But you never really know what's possible, man. You've just got to, again, it comes back down to that like authenticity piece. It's like just not to quote the Beatles, but fucking let it be. I do not like the Beatles, but like, let it be.
I think for me, I kind of alluded to the foot surgery I had, and I'm sure people who listen to this more consistently are probably like, fuck, dude, move on to something else. But like, I can't stress enough, like, it was scary because it's like, okay, fine, 2 to 3 months where it's like your life just goes on hold and you can't do anything. Basically, I had to be non-weight bearing for about 2.5, almost 3 months. So essentially it's like, so I just sit or lay in a bed, and it's like, that's not my fucking life. Like, that's not how I am. That's not how and even now the struggle has been like sitting in that bed, like at times where it's like dark as fuck. And I've already watched X-Men 92 again. And I already watched like all the shit I wanted to watch. How great is that show? Oh yeah, it's fucking real great. I was hesitant, but it's real fucking good, and I can't wait for
the trailer. And I was like, I didn't know this.
Good. It's so good.
I had no idea it existed, mate. So I need to get on that.
But I ended up, watching a bunch of shit, listening to did everything that I could possibly want to do because I had all the time in the world. And I promised myself when I was able to be mobile, when I was able to do shit, it's like, I used to run, I used to play sports and do all these things. I want to get back to that. I want to kind of be more of who I was, that, the happiness I had more as a kid. But the hard part for me right now is like I've been challenging to try to run a little bit. And it's like, I'm only just on the cusp of 6 months removed from that surgery. Like, since I could actually, like, the goal I had was Norma Jean was playing on my birthday, my 40th birthday. Like, Corey's the homie. So like I went and saw him, but it was such a bitch because like I couldn't like be on the floor. Like, I had to be so like removed away from everything. I was like, this sucks. This isn't how I go to shows. But it was nice because it gave me something to look forward to. Now the thing I'm dealing with, and I'm in like a Facebook group or a group with a couple of friends that we're all trying to like lose, some weight and stuff like that. And I go, it's so fucking frustrating because all I want to do is like, we have good weather now and I want to like try to run and go do something, but like my ankle isn't there. My foot's not there. And like, I barely can even get a trot going. And then it's like, nope, my body's telling me no. And I go, all I want to do is like do this thing that I said I wanted to do and not waste the opportunity anymore and not put off all these things. And it's so fucking hard to be in that and know that it's just, again, I'm trying to force the thing and the world is telling me, no, not right now. But
100%.
But like, because all I did was sit in a fucking bed and sit on the couch, it's like, man, I don't want to like waste these opportunities. The weather's nice. It's so fucking nice out. I want to take my dog. I want to go for a run. I want to like lose some pounds and I want to like get in better shape instead of like finding an excuse as to why I can't or don't want to.
Oh man, I know how you feel. I'm the same. I started this like diet thing at the start of the year, and it was great. Like I got the scales say I got some good results, but then I'm like, there's always more. Like I always want more, and it's like, well, why? Like I'm just be who you can be right now. Do what you can do right now, and that's fine. Like your point about the weather. Sure as fuck going to see that sunshine again. Like regardless whether it's today or next week or in a couple of weeks, maybe a few months. If you were in fucking Milwaukee, I'd be like, well, you'd probably be waiting a while. But like in general, it's you will see that again. Like, and you will feel that triumphant success again. It's just a fact. I bust my knee last February. I couldn't run for 3 months. And then when I started running again, I got some stomach issue and I was in the hospital for I was in and out of hospital. It wasn't great. My wife's in a similar position now. Actually, she's had some nerve issues and like something's gone wrong with her foot. And she's been in a similar situation to you. She can't walk properly. So she now she'll get frustrated, understandably, but then we'll go for a walk because she can manage to walk short distance, but she's still walking now. But then she'll be like, I just don't feel like it's getting better. I'm like, look at the miles that you've done compared to the miles that you want to do. It is getting better and it will. Yeah. But, that's just life, isn't it? We're conditioned to want more and expect more, and then we'll do more and we'll hurt ourselves more. So it's one of those points, back to your point of just
patience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Patience. It'll fucking
being haunted. Yeah. There it is. There's no other way to end it. That's got to be the ending right there. We found it, looped it all back, and we're there.
And this won't be the last podcast. This won't be the last Brewtally Speaking. I hope that I'm part of.
No.
And yeah, like you got to take it on the road. Like once your foot's healed up, man, you should do. I think you're so good at doing this. Like you should definitely do it in person.
Yeah, I mean. It'll be a few months and then I'll actually be able to listen to the record. So depending on if I do a solo dolo trip or bring the wife with, because we've been talking about doing a Chicago thing anyway, so that might work perfectly. I'll talk to her tonight, and then I got to download WhatsApp because I don't have that anymore.
Telegram?
I don't use any of that shit really.
Interesting.
But I for the continuity and being able to communicate with you and moving forward, I will do that.
Respect. Free texting, right? Like if you got Wi-Fi, whatever, you just one of my best friends lives in the Philippines, and we just use WhatsApp to stay in touch. But mate, I love Chicago. Genuinely love Chicago. It's I've got to make my mind up on what pizza is my favorite. But I mean, it's a Detroit style deep dish, dude. That's my favorite. But Chicago in general, I've tried a few. Pizza Lobo.
I'll send you some places to go.
Logan Square pretty much right now is where I get the slice from. But Pizza Lobo, that's the spot. But Pequod's I've heard is really good, so I need to give that a bash.
It's pretty good. I still always go to Luminaldi's. It's just consistent and it's great.
Better than Giordano's, brother.
Fuck yeah, it is. Well, it's good chatting with you. Very much looking forward to the record coming out, the tour, and hopefully, I know you said some stuff. It sounds like it'll be not here in the States in November, but hopefully this record does really well and brings you back out to the States so more people can catch you guys.
Fingers crossed. But thank you for having me as always, brother.
So that was my conversation with Kris. Want to thank him once again for taking the time and continually extending and giving me more of his time. It was starting to get really late, his time, and my wife was actually on her way home. We are in the midst of doing some house cleaning and spring cleaning and a few renovation things here at our house, so I also had to get ready to go do that. But very fortunate to have reconnected with Kris, and very much looking forward to, like I said, the new record coming out again May 16th via Music for Nations. The Will You Haunt Me with That Same Patience, I think, is a concept. I think it's a really great idea. I'm really... Man, I need to be reminded of that myself. And, the epiphany you heard me have during this conversation of this idea that in my head, I want to be more physically active and I want to be more committed to the promise I made myself, sitting in a bed literally a room away from where I am right now, where I said, as soon as I'm able to do these things, I'm just going to fucking hit it with a level of tenacity that I kept putting off because life and other excuses. And I think in this situation, it's entirely different. And I have to give myself a little bit of grace and a little bit of patience and just hope that basically things are happening for a reason and that they will eventually come to fruition the way I want to. And still, the ownership is on me that I still have to want that when I am able to. But currently, as I sit here doing this, I will definitely say doing some of the yard work in preparation for the disposal of things. I have been kind of reminded a few different times that a lot of the things that we do is requiring, I should say, a lot out of your feet and your legs. And if that's not 100% currently, then all I would do is just cause more damage and just set myself further back. And honestly, I'm at least, and I have to remind myself, this is where the patience comes in, that about 6 months ago, all I wanted to do was be able to go on trips and hang out with my wife and go do things with my friends and not feel fucking alone and not afraid and not angry. And I have that now. And that's the thing that I have to be thankful for currently. And the rest of the things I'm trying to do in my life will eventually get there. It just is going to take some time and patience. All of that said, I also have been really enjoying reconnecting with Kris over the last couple of days of us doing this. And man, I'm really excited for this upcoming tour that the band is going to be doing here in the States. As you heard, going to try to go to Milwaukee, basically just at the point of trying to find a hotel. But maybe if you're a fan and you listen to this show and you live in the Milwaukee area or you're going to the rave to see the show, maybe I will see you there. I am very much looking forward to sort of speaking of like haunting and patience and all that kind of stuff. If it is an opportunity is presented to do such, I'd love to go back to that pool that's at the rave and kind of explore a little bit more of some of the little nooks and crannies that I didn't know were there the last time I was there because I was trying to just be very inconspicuous, given the fact that I wasn't sure if I was allowed to be back there with the bands and so forth that I was hanging out with. But it is a legendary venue. It is an incredible experience being in those rooms. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to check out the pool, it is it's a vibe and it's an energy, and it feels very much like there is a presence still down there. So I'm hoping to kind of tap into that a little bit and kind of explore, again, more of that experience if I am so fortunate to be able to do such. All that said, let's start wrapping up the episode. If you would like to keep up with Bury Tomorrow, you can go to bury-tomorrow.com. There's a landing page for all tour dates, merch, all the links to social medias and everything. Otherwise, you can find Bury Tomorrow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bury Tomorrow. And as you heard, Kris does not have any social media, so I don't have anything to plug for him. If you would like to follow us here at the show, BrewSpeak on all your social media platforms of choice. If you would like to email me, you can do such at brewtallyspeaking@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe. You know why that is important. Do such wherever you are able to. Word of mouth has been great as of late with a lot of the episodes. That Brandon Chapetti episode, that has just been an episode that keeps on giving. And the reach of it has been pretty incredible to see the different bands that have responded to it, the new followers from other bands that have been kind of coming in, trickling in, and even a guest that will be coming on very soon. We are supposed to do the conversation as of when I'm recording this in a few days. It will probably be the next episode, but is definitely something where I have learned over the course of doing this for almost 500 episodes now. You don't count your chickens before they're hatched. So as I start wrapping this up, want to thank Rockabilly as well. Speaking of 500 episodes, we are in the countdown, less than 10 episodes away. And I have most of the 500th episode week done, as you kind of heard me allude to in this conversation with Kris. I am doing an episode a day of some of my favorite guests that I've had on. I have, at this point, I think I need to record 2 more. And I have one of them pretty much scheduled and locked down, and then I am waiting for basically the same thing to happen with the other guests that I have reached out to. But I have had incredible conversations with some of my greatest friends from doing this show, and I can't wait for you all to hear them and just to celebrate 9 years of doing this thing and 500 episodes. And if you've been along for all of it, for just a little bit of it, or if this is your first one, thank you so much. It has been an incredible journey, and I am very much looking forward to wherever this show goes beyond those 500. But also, thank you to Rockabilly. They have been a part of this journey as well for quite a while. Use our code BREWtally at checkout. Take 10% off your total purchase order. They are doing some amazing collaborations and just are really a brand of a company, and as well as the people that work for the company. Basically, they are so dedicated and about the life of music and supporting it and every kind of offshoot of it. Between supporting this show, 100 Words or Less, they actually have already come on board with Chris from the Ghost and Sides podcast, Late for Load In. So definitely a company that, supports the arts in basically every iteration I can think of what that means. So their continued support is great. Please support them if you are able to. And for the Brewtally Speaking podcast, I am John, and I'll talk to you all next time. Have a good week.